So last class you should have made your document and created a grid with your chosen picture. Today's the fun day. Today you get to get creative with your pictures. So I'm going to go back to my project and I've got my grid, and if you didn't crop it last class, that's the first thing you want to do, although most of you did do that, and click the green arrow. If you're having trouble or you're making mistakes, a couple things to know. The biggest thing is to make sure you're on the correct layer. So sometimes you're on the wrong layer when you're trying to move things around. In that case, just check to see what layer you are actually on, and if you click the move tool, you'll get a box around it. Another thing that sometimes happens is students select a little tiny area and they don't realize that that area is selected. And in that case, the only thing you can do right now is within that area. If you accidentally select something, just say select, deselect. But I've got my grid and I'm ready to go. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to add a filter or change the color or brightness to each one of these pictures. So the first thing I want to do is I want to zoom in so I can look at one particular picture. So I'm going to start at this one. That's the top left. And I'm going to click on my move tool and I'm going to click on my picture so I know it's selected. So I can even zoom in a little bit more so I see it more closely. And there's a lot of things that you can try. You just need one or more filter or change on each photo. You can definitely do more than one, but I'm going to show you a couple here, some of my favorites. Along the top, enhance, adjust lighting, brightness, contrast. You can see by doing this slider, I can make my image brighter. I can increase the contrast as well. So already that's a little bit brighter. Okay, so that's one thing I could do to that. Another thing I could do, I could say enhance, adjust color variations, and then I could go in and I can change the colors by playing around with this and say okay. So now when I go view, zoom out, I can see that this one is definitely changed. I'm going to go to my next picture and show you a few more things. Okay, let me view. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. If I go across the top to filter, there are so many different filters. Right now you have two colors selected. I can switch those. You can change the colors by clicking in the color box. So right now if I do some of my filters right now, they would be pink and white. I'm just going to click here. If you click, the default is black and white. I'm going to start with black and white. So if I go up to filter, gallery, and I say artistic, colored pencil, I can see what this would look like in colored pencil, and I can move it over. I can change the pencil width. I can change the paper brightness. Cutout would be collage. Do I want more levels? Do I want less levels? Do I want the edges more simple? Do I want something that's more abstract? Okay. Dry brush, film grain, fresco, neon glow, and I can change the glow color by clicking in here and picking more. I can also have like more of a glow. Ooh, that's cool. I think I'll pick that one, I think. Plastic wrap, in case you ever wanted to know what the Statue of Liberty looked like, wrap in plastic wrap. But look at all of these different filters. And that is just under the artistic, okay? So we'll say okay for that one. And then we'll go to another one, and we'll go filter. Let's go back to the, as long as I start here, let's say I go to color pencil, then I'll still get into all these other ones, okay? So brush strokes, there's different types of brush strokes and outlines. That one's sort of neat. Distort, I can see what it would look like with an ocean ripple or glass. Sketch, okay, I've got to go down here. Look at this. This is if it was wrapped in chrome, and I could have more details. I could have less details. Torn edges. Stamp is one of my favorite. I can have more darker light balance if I want. And right now, because I have black and white as my chosen color, it's going to be black and white. But if I had pink and white, it would be pink and white, and so on. Okay? Halftone pattern. Stylize. Let me go down a little bit more. Glowing edges, which I think are pretty cool. I'm going to make the edges even brighter. I can make the edges thicker. I think I like them thinner. Maybe something in between. Okay, and I can choose how smooth that is as well. So I'm going to say okay for that one. Okay, so as I go out, zoom out, I've got 3 filters that I really, really like. Keep in mind, you can always say edit, undo, or Control Z if you don't like it. I'm happy with these 3, so I'm going to say file, save. Okay, a few more of Mrs. Cucuzzi's favorite filters. Okay, I really like, I do like mosaic tiles, is pretty cool. Stylize, I really, really love emboss. And right now it's 100%. I want to make that smaller. I like to sort of offset the embossing. That's when paper is sort of raised. I think that one's neat. Another one I really like is to go to filter, stylize, extrude. And you can change the size of the pixels, you can change the depth, but I like how it breaks it up. Do you see that? Okay, let's see a few more. Sketch, there's some good sketch, render, there's so many good ones. You can change, you know, just the way the light's coming in, there's so many different things. I'm gonna show you now the favorite one of students usually, is under Distort, there's a filter called Liquify, so I'm gonna go over here. Okay, so now the first thing I want to do is I want to make Statue of Liberty bigger so I can see her. So I'm going to make her 200%. And she's out of the field, so if I take this hand, I can bring it back. There she is. Now, my brush size right now, I can see my brush size is pretty big. See that circle? So I can make the brush smaller. Okay, one is very small. Okay, let's see that. That's still pretty big. You can actually type in the box, which would probably be a better idea. Okay, 6. Okay, so let's say, that's still pretty big. Let's say I wanted to like make her dress wider. I can pull it out. Here, you could give somebody ears. You could make the clouds different. You can change things around on here. If you don't like it, you just say revert and it goes back to what it is. So the next one underneath it is to make it a wave. I want to show you the swirl. For the swirl, I want the brush to be bigger. And look, woo, she's dancing. You can also swirl the opposite way if you wanted to do that. There's the pinch, which takes it and pulls it in, which is very, very funny if you're doing someone's face. I'm going to back to revert. And then the one underneath it is more like it pulls different areas out. Let me see if I can see this one. Okay, this reminds me of like a fisheye. Okay, so when you're done, you say okay. If you don't like it, you just say cancel and you go back. So that is how you're sort of just going to play around and experiment. The objective of this is for you to use different filters and see some of the things that Photoshop can do. One thing I do is I try not to have filters that are too alike next to each other. So like if the colors are the same, I might like move this one over and put this one over here and have this one have different colors so that everything sort of stands out. So again, I'll go to Enhance, Adjust Color, Color Variations, and let's decrease the green, increase the red, lighten it up, and make this one a little pinker. Okay, so, and I've lost one here. So you can just move things around and just continue to work. So your job today, as I view out, is to go through and add a different filter or more, and the color change counts as well, and just sort of experiment with being creative on Photoshop. When you're done, you just need to say File, Save, to save the Photoshop version, because you've done that already. But then, this is a little tricky. You're going to need to save it as a JPEG. So you're going to say File, Save As, and instead of a Photoshop document, you're going to want to save it as a JPEG. Now, there's two different JPEGs. You're going to want to use the top JPEG. You're going to click, and then you're going to say Save, and then you'll need to say OK. When I look at my document, the JPEG one version can't be changed. It takes less memory, but this is the one that I'll want to submit. And I can tell it's the JPEG version because I can actually see the picture. So the Photoshop version, I'm going to see, the Photoshop version is up here, and I'm moving things down. But it's this one, and it looks like the camera, but the JPEG is this version. So that'll be your second step or your last step today. So if you have questions, check in with your art teacher, but I hope you enjoy this and have a lot of fun. I know it's one of my favorite things to do on Photoshop is play around with the filters.